Thank you, Ojas. So good day. I want to say good afternoon because, that people say it's post-lunch. No, it's not at lunchtime yet. And Ojas, you do this to me often by keeping me the last before the lunch, and it becomes my responsibility to keep people engaged and awake. But nevertheless, a very good day, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, the last panel, as we are going to talk about Islamic banking and digitization in Islamic banking. So let's go back 12 years, 2011, when Central Bank of Oman wanted to introduce Islamic banking in Oman, and many of the banks did start Islamic window. There are two banks which are pure play Islamic bank. Both are here today for this panel. So first, let me call Khalid Al-Hakani from Ali's Islamic Bank. He heads the Information Technology Division. Now, just about this gentleman, when I was having a conversation with him, I was talking about what is happening with fintechs, what is happening with open banking and CBO. He said, we are way ahead of all those things. We have already engaged with some of these fintechs. That is Khalid for you. Next, I'd like to invite Mujahid Al-Zajjali, Mujahid from Bank Nisba. And Mujahid is a very passionate gentleman when it comes to Islamic banking, but more importantly, digital transformation. He's the GM IT and Operations, and please join me in welcoming him to this panel. Number three, now we have two Islamic banks. Shouldn't we have a Islamic window as well? So yes, and to call upon Sami Rashid from Mitak as our third panelist. So we talk about whether Islamic banking is complementing, competing, cannibalizing. Let's hear from him at this panel. Welcome, Sami, to this panel. Last but not the least, we cannot have a panel without a vendor or a solution provider in the room. And who better than Temenos, who have the largest presence in the market with Islamic banks in the region. And I would like to call Dimitris from Temenos. So before I start, let me have a quick question to the panelists, all the panelists. We started the discussion this morning with a presentation which says Islamic banking is growing faster in the country. 12 years since 2011, but we still have two Islamic banks, and we have a lot of windows. And the question is there any challenge that Islamic banking is facing in the country? Are they competing with fellow Islamic bankers or competing with conventional bankers to find a space in this market? So I'll start with Khalid to answer this question, and then I would like everyone to share their views.
I think, in my opinion, it's been a success for Islamic banking in Oman. I think in last year we have about 17% market share of the total banking, and that is from 0% 10 years ago. So it's been, I think, recognized as the fastest growing Islamic banking market ever. Oman has been recognized as. And it's still growing, and that's amazing. Now, it's not about the numbers. I think, yes, it's two banks, but there's a lot of windows who are also offering a lot of value to the end customers, hoping that a lot of these windows will eventually spin off as banks or merge or whatever. And that's a trend, I think, that we're going to see. But I think from a competition perspective, yes, there is direct competition between Islamic banks as well as with the windows. But there's also competition with the other banks, and that's normal because different segments of the market, they have different needs, and some of them would totally just bank with Islamic banking, and therefore for those customers, you're directly competing with fellow Islamic banking. But then there's a lot of customers who are picking and choosing who's offering me a greater, customer experience, a greater financial solutions, and definitely, that they will not be picking just an Islamic bank for that. Yeah.
I'll just add to what my colleague Khalid highlighted a little while ago. If you see the numbers, as per March 2023, the growth rate of Islamic banking in the financial sector has moved from 17% to 20%. Now, if you see the asset size growth of Islamic banking has reached to 19%. And if you see the financing growth of Islamic banking has reached somewhere around 17 to 18%, which shows and gives us a very clear indication that we are really doing very well. And there is a huge acceptance from the public. In fact, before we start, the Islamic banks, they get born in Oman, there was a huge segment which was unbanked. But with the born of Islamic banks, we managed to bring those into the banking economy. So we contributed in the financial inclusion for those segments. People were thinking that Islamic banks are only meant for people who are above 60 years of age, who are from a specific community, only for Muslims. It's not about Muslims. I mean, we are having products and services for all kind of individuals, businesses, and corporates. And we cater to all their requirements. Thank you.
Yes. In fact, I echo my colleagues here. The Islamic banking in Oman is considered one of the most successful stories in the region. And the numbers that we have reached to today is an evidence of all the work that has been done from scratch, starting from the Islamic banking, IBRF, the framework that has been set by the central bank, until we have seen the banks are setting up windows, are setting up. Today, I'm speaking on behalf of a window, which is the largest Islamic entity in the Sultanate in terms of assets. And that is a strong evidence on the effort that have been put all together from the different Islamic banks. Now, if we talk about challenges, yes, there are challenges. We do not deny that the market pie is limited, and we are all fighting on it. There was a survey just before launching Islamic banks in Oman, and the survey was saying that 30% to 35% of the customers are willing to move to Islamic banking immediately once they get launched, and that has happened initially at the initial stages. And I still remember that we see people crossing hundreds of miles to reach the nearest Islamic branch just to open an account. We have seen the total liabilities have increased. People were putting their money under the pillow. They don't want to bank with conventional banks, and they were looking for options for Islamic banking. Another 30 to 35% wanted to see how does this industry evolving and whether they are going to provide something additional to them so they can move, and that has happened because of the leverage and technology that the Islamic banks have taken initially. And I still remember that the first instant debit card issuance was entered into this company by Islamic banks. So the remaining were, wanted to see either they are price-driven, they are customer service-driven and all. But today, when we are talking about competition, it's pure customer experience. And the bank who wants to succeed has to differentiate itself from that point of view. Alhamdulillah, we are seeing Islamic banks and Islamic windows are excelling into that term. Maybe we haven't reached to some of the conventional banks in the market because they are surpassing us by years. But then the technology is giving us that edge to come and reach up to that level.
Thank you. Answer the question.
Yeah.
So what is your experience in terms of terminology, in terms of the Oman market and Islamic banking?
Right. So first of all, we see that Islamic banking is growing at a much faster rate than conventional banking. That said, Islamic banking is still about 1/5 in asset size of conventional banking. So that means that there is room to grow. On the other side, we see that in Oman, financial inclusion is around 80%. So that means that there is about 20% that is not banked yet. So the available pie is probably not as big as it used to be. So we see that banks have two options, two things they can do. First, they can still tap on that 20% that does not have a banking account yet. But also, they need to find ways to become more, to provide a better user experience on one hand, and on the other hand, to do it in such a way so that their cost-to-income ratio remains competitive. Because sooner or later, they will go ahead, conventional banks, and they will all go after the same pie. So there are ways they can do it. There's technology that they can use. There are platforms that they can use in order to do that. And we as Temenos, we are here to provide both thought leadership and technology leadership in providing concrete solutions to banks on how to do that.
Now, Quintus touched upon customer experience. I think that was a common coming up across everyone who has spoken about customer experience, about the Oman's Islamic banking landscape. So when it comes to customer experience, it all talks about transformation. It all talks about digital technology, whatever we call it, it all talks about transformation and change management. So how you have seen digital transformation actually helping in the growth of Islamic banking? I'll start with Khalid.
Okay, see, I think if we define digital transformation, I think a lot of banks, what we are doing right now is moving a lot of the services that we are offering in the branches to the digital channels, which there's not really a lot of innovation around that, frankly, because banks have been doing this for years, and many of us are still trying to catch up to what the rest of the world has already offered, even 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I remember I was in Australia about 15 years ago, and I was able to do full-fledged banking before the introduction of smartphones and mobile apps and so on. But full-fledged banking, there's no reason for you to visit a branch at all. In Australia, that's 15 years ago, so I don't know what they're doing today. They must be banking with their brain or something, I don't know, because it's amazing. And unfortunately, we are still talking about offering sometimes basic functions or some basic products which our customers should expect to be available, and we still have not reached there. Now, can Islamic banking take the lead on that? I think they can. We have our own challenges when it comes to offering an Islamic, especially from the asset side, from the financing side. I think a lot of banks here, they're already offering onboarding customers digitally without, I had a very nice experience with Bank Nizwa, full digital onboarding, and I got my card and everything. It was amazing and beautiful experience. Thanks to Mujahid and his team. I think it was a very pleasant experience, and therefore I think onboarding and digital onboarding, especially in the last few years, has been, is now accepted by many, and the central bank also is helping in that with their framework. I think in the Islamic financing, there's some challenges when it comes to ensuring that this process is adhering to the Islamic Sharia principles, and sometimes it's not easy because it involves a lot of transactions between the customer and the merchant and the bank, and you need to have a smooth experience through that. So, for example, if you're buying a car, the car has to transfer to the bank name, and then the bank has to, sell it back to the customer, and so on. It's not as straightforward as a loan which is being given by a conventional bank. It just, immediately moves to your account. So that's a challenge. That innovation around that is really needed. So I think Islamic banks, along with fintechs, can innovate around that area. And we've worked with a fintech on that, both us as well as Bank Nizwa, where basically the financing is happening at the merchant itself, the car dealers, or the, if you're talking about goods financing at the goods like Danube and others, you can avail your financing immediately there. This is something that was introduced at least 3 years ago, and that really has flipped the side of you know, the whole financing when it comes to customer having to come to the branch and filling up forms and paperwork and so on and so forth. Now, in 10 minutes, they can go to the car dealer, get their car, get their financing immediately within 10 to 15 minutes. So these are some of the areas that I think fintechs, and especially homegrown and local regional fintechs should be able to work with banks and help banks achieve some of these basically solutions to tackle these particular challenges that Islamic banking are having.
Thanks, Kyle. Mujahid, there was a mention about your digital transformation journey and this competition, you know, appreciating what you have done with your onboarding journey. So what kind of experience you had when you rolled that that kind of experience to customers? What benefits you're reaping because of it? And through the journey, if you could touch upon the challenges you had faced when, you know, while you rolled out that experience to customers.
Let me give you the background why actually we tapped into that, why we went for it. One, mainly our friend Dimitros was talking about the efficiency, you know, the cost basically. It's very expensive for us, you know, to service the customer at the branches. They keep coming. I mean, today if you see when we launched our digital onboarding, we have almost around 18 to 19,000 accounts which have been opened digitally. So imagine if all of these 19,000 customers, they go to our branches, how much time it will take for the customer to open the branch, do the KYC, and at the same time the staff servicing the customer. So, and then there was a demand from our customers, and this is the question which we wanted to answer to our different committees, and we kept on hearing this question again and again, that the customers whom we have, they are not digital savvy. We said let's do a test basically and see whether we have a digital savvy customers or not. Do we have customers they are using touch phones or they are using the old normal traditional phones? So we went for it, and of course to introduce efficiency in the bank. While going through it, we actually failed immediately. And it took us almost, Sadiq is here, took us almost not lesser than 8 months to think about it again and again, because you need to see, we are a Sharia-based bank, and we need to follow the Sharia principles while opening any account digitally. And to do that, unfortunately, I really blame the fintech companies. They are not really focusing with Islamic banks. We still don't have a proper fintech platforms which really could cater and serve the Islamic banks, mainly in Oman, because we have our own localization formulas here in the country. Different interpretations are there in different regions, but Oman is more privy to Omani culture and Omani principles. So finally we worked with the fintech company, one of the fintech companies, but we had to really contribute a lot. And you know, I mean, when you get into that kind of a contribution, you have your own other things to do. We feel fintech companies, they need to take this pain from us, and at least we can do and focus on the other banking aspects. So finally we launched it, and we succeeded, and we are enhancing on this. And this was also the question which was answered to our different committees in the bank that yes, we have digital savvy customers, and of course this was also for the competition, because our customers they keep on comparing us with the banks who have these kind of services, who have this kind of products, who have this kind of richness.
Coming to Sami, you are always going to be competing with not only the other Islamic banks, but also with your conventional arm. You'll be constantly being compared with the services being offered by your conventional arm, your tradition. I mean, so how you have been able to imbibe your own digital transformation journey or leveraging technology to actually, achieve what you've achieved in terms of being the largest Islamic bank in terms of assets today?
Yeah. In fact, we consider our attachment with Bank Muscat as a conventional is a leverage. And that's where we have got the assistance and help and the learning, or the learning curve that the conventional counterpart have gone through. And we have gained the benefits that they have got from the experience, from different experiences that they have gained throughout the process. So this is one part of it. And the continuous learning have helped us in being advanced in terms of different systems that we are using. And we are now upgrading our systems, be it the core banking system or the other satellite systems as well, in order to provide our customers the desired experience, which Khalid was talking about. Now the question is that, do we need to meet our customers' expectations, or we want to exceed them? Now, definitely the answer is we want to exceed that. Why? Because customers' expectations are always growing and always going higher. So if we are not being one step ahead, we will fall behind. And as Khalid rightly said, that most of our customers have gone abroad and they have seen this experience with different banks. So when they come back, they see that gap and that difference. We are working hard and we are doing our level best to bridge that gap and provide them the seamless journey that they are looking for.
So, Dimitri, you heard what Mujahid was mentioning about fintechs. Now you are representing all the fintechs and tech providers here. So now you need to give an answer as to how do you think it would, the perception of bankers with respect to tech providers, fintechs in Oman supporting Islamic banking growth would change?
Okay, that's a nice question and a tough burden, I guess, on my shoulders. Regarding fintechs, as said previously, a fintech might have the innovation, might have the ideas, but they might not be as strong in the implementation, in the experience, in the volumes, in the compliance with the regulation and all that stuff. And banks have already, addressed this issue. That is why there is the sandbox in place to help fintechs do that. But this is something launched by the Central Bank of Oman. We as Temenos, we obviously cannot launch a sandbox, but we're doing the, I would say, next best thing is, instead of banks having to scout for fintechs and which one is good and which one is not, we are doing this work for them, and we're creating what we call our Temenos Exchange. It's an ecosystem of, curated fintechs that we have selected as Temenos to partner with, and they are there to solve specific business problems, because that was another issue that was discussed previously, in various areas that banks actually, they have an issue. For example, a bank employee might need to see what their customer is doing in their digital banking to do some screen sharing, to understand what the problem is. There is a Temenos Exchange partner that can help you in that. Or you want to do customer onboarding, you want to do authentication, KYC. There is a partner that can help you do that. Or you want to generate a document, to generate the contract, because as said previously, Islamic products might have a structure that requires more steps than a conventional one. You might need to generate a contract, a promissory note, and all that stuff. So all these problems that banks are facing, we can help, and by suggesting partners that can, fintechs that can sort these issues for the banks, for security, and there are plenty of Temenos partners. Now, on the other hand, I would also like to say that banks themselves, sometimes, to some extent, they should also need to think as a fintech. Let me give you an example. BNPL. Everyone is talking about it, and there are plenty of fintechs doing it. Actually, there are some of them that have, are Sharia compliant. BNPL can work in two use cases. One is when the customer wants to buy something from the merchant, an online sales, let's say. That involves the bank, the customer, and the merchant. But there is also another use case, which is simpler, when the bank, when I as a customer have bought something, I have second thoughts of on my purchase, and the bank comes there to facilitate me with a loan, so that instead of me, and I have already paid 1,000 riyals for something, but now I can make an arrangement with the bank and I can repay that to the bank, let's say into 4 installments. I don't know how if this is Sharia compliant, but it is certainly a use case that banks might want to explore, because they can easily take benefit of the technology and they can reach their existing customers. They are much easier customers, and start financing their needs on the spot without involving the merchant. So that is much easier to roll out. They can roll it out throughout their digital banking. So there is lots of room for innovation, both from fintech side and from the bank side.
Thanks, Dimitri. You had to take the burden on your shoulder. You had no other choice. So now coming to the innovations in the market, there are a lot of innovations that are happening today. And some of them might be very relevant to the growth of Islamic banking, or it could be easily adopted by Islamic banking to bring in much more business, operational efficiency, financial inclusion, and so on and so forth. Now, what is it that one innovation or disruption that you as a banker would focus on in 2024? I'll start with Khalid.
In 24?
Yes. We're almost end of 23. Now we should be in the budgeting phase now.
I'll give you my perspective. I think there are. This is a topic which is very dear and close to my heart. Is that can we create homegrown solution that cater to the local, homegrown financial solution that caters to the real needs of the market in Oman. What we are doing today, unfortunately, it's fortunately for big guys like Temenos and Oracle and others, is we are importing technology which is from global players and trying to adapt it to the local market. That's not always, the solution that are offered by these big players are not always catering to the real need of the local market, the pain of the local market, whether it's individuals or even SMEs. Micro businesses specifically. Micro businesses, they have a lot of financial needs which is not properly being catered for. No solutions are really made to cater to those, from needs from, like, say, microfinancing and management of their full account and so on. There's so many needs of these microfinances which is not being catered for today by any bank, whether Islamic or conventional bank. I think going forward, I would love to see homegrown solutions. Would banks play a role in igniting that market? Can Omani banks create homegrown solutions? Big banks, Al-Izz Islamic Bank, we're still a small player. Hopefully we'll become big one day. But there are big banks here, big banks who are really now should be competing on the regional and global scale. I feel they have the capabilities to create technology arms to help solve financial needs of the Omani market. I've seen in countries like Turkey, banks have, most of the big banks, they have created technology arms to cater to the needs of their banks. And they have come up with a lot of innovative solutions around that. You know, if you're just going to wait for the off-the-shelf solution, you're never going to be innovative. You cannot be innovative when you're waiting for a solution to be, coming from the off-the-shelf. You can be innovative if you can do that development yourself. And I think there's a lot of opportunities, not only that it will help with the local economy, creating an in-house local technology powerhouses, helping with employment for the Omani population. There's a lot of Omanis graduating now with computer science degrees. Even kids nowadays, they can program Pythons and stuff. So I don't think we have a lack of local talent. But it will also help keep the money inside the country. So now instead of, continuously we are paying a lot of money for these big players, and that money is moving out of Oman, going to, all kind of other countries. This money is going to stay in Oman. So is there a chance? Are there investors or even banks who are willing to really build homegrown software development companies? Now, innovation will come around from that, because innovation is about going and listening to your customers, understanding their pain areas. Your customers are not the same. We tend to create a solution which is massly to be used by the masses, but it's not true. Yani. If you look at for example, if you look at the need of people who are working in the oil field, they have 2 weeks going in the desert, 2 weeks coming back. They might have their own financial needs, which is not catered by your solutions. You have doctors, you have other segments who might have their own financial needs. So I think that is an area which we should invest on, and I think that is really an opportunity for the country. Plus, it also can protect from geopolitical risks. We've seen big countries being cut off from technology companies, or from even global financial networks, because they're not aligned with the political views of the West. So it is a big existential threat to us in Oman and in this region, that we can be cut off from the big companies, or we can be cut off from the financial networks. So we need to start building up things ourselves, and that's, I think, very important. So that's critical.
That's an interesting view, Khalid. Mujahid, what is your take?
I'll be very short. I'll try to be as short as possible. I'll just give you one example. The recent, one of the largest IPO which happened in the country. So I just imagine how our customers are comparing us with the competition, and they are saying, all these banks are there, where are you as Bank Nizwa? Why are you not involved as a collecting bank? So we had to really work so hard to tweak our systems and solutions and make the connectivity available to our MCD, MCX, and there were 3 partners. Working with these 3 partners, it's really not easy, and it's very, very difficult. So we managed to bridge that gap within 2 to 3 weeks. We connected, and we were live and were available for our customers to provide them this experience. Now, I won't go into details what exactly we will be doing in 2024, but a lot more we will be doing. We will be tapping into payments. We will be tapping into a lot of fintech, engaging with and collaborating with fintech companies. We will be digitalizing internally and externally also. So we will have a lot to say in 2024, inshallah, to change our customer experience.
Sami?
Yeah. It's inspiring to hear all this. I'll talk from business point of view. If you ask me personally, definitely want to do everything, but then there are priorities, there are things aligned to the strategies that we have in the organization, and accordingly we are going to be working and developing on such projects. But personally, if you ask me, what I want to see is a marketplace where it helps different parties to come on board on a platform being run by the bank, where it bridges the gap between micro, small, and medium enterprises and the big companies. It helps them to transact between each other seamlessly and create a concept of win-win situation for everyone. Thank you.
And Dimitri, how do you think fintechs can actually foster these innovations and help the banks in due course? Especially when it comes to innovation and disruption.
Sorry, especially?
When it comes to innovation and disruption.
So I touched upon, what fintechs can do, but in the previous question, I would also like to touch not just on fintechs, but new technologies in general. And what we're doing in order to help banks, because many of these problems are specific. We see them demonstrated in each and every country, for example, in Oman. But in nature, they're global. Everyone has this problem. So, for example, every bank would be really interested in trying to assess, let's say, the credit worthiness of their customers. Every bank would be interested in helping a customer choose a mortgage that suits them best in terms of capital, in terms of allocation, in terms of what parts it consists of. Every company, every SME would like to be able to see, to make a projection, let's say, about their cash flows, and maybe the bank can help them because the SME doesn't have the know-how. So what we are doing is trying, and this is not something new, we have been doing that for quite a few years, investing a lot, creating patented technology, using what we call XAI. So XAIs are explainable AIs. You have ChatGPT, you have Copilot, which is generative AI. So it tries to generate some content. The explainable AI tries to help you to surface insights, to help you make decisions, and to also give you the drivers behind these decisions. So you see that this customer has a score of 70% trustworthy, and these are the drivers. That you can consider it, because it started as a fintech, you can consider it, a fintech, but it comes with the weight of a global company that has tested it, has again and again in various countries, and has fine-tuned it, and now provides something where the banks will take a solution, will fine-tune it to their needs, because, as Khalid said at the beginning, every country is different. That's why we have country model banks. Every country has their own needs, and one size fits all doesn't work. You need to be able to localize whatever you're doing to the needs of that specific country, of that specific bank. So I would say that's one way where a fintech and a bigger company can help, banks work.
Sure. There are, when you talk about innovations, digital transformation, we cannot, have any discussion complete without talking about what is happening in like open finance. AI is what you are all touching about, embedded finance. Some of them, if you look at it, like embedded finance, are something that people would appreciate that it works well in a Sharia-compliant construct. So quickly, in probably 20 words, I would say, what is your take and what is your, inclination towards adoption of embedded finance? Or, I would say embedded finance, but typically which is AI enabled, and also with open banking, all about open finance.
Well, I think two of my friends and ex-Islamic Bank they are launching a fintech specifically catering to this need, embedded finance and microfinance for, and it's Sharia compliant. It's an Islamic Sharia compliant product. They are already graduated from the accelerator at Omantel, and they are going for the sandbox, the regulatory sandbox. So I think that is very exciting, and it's going to help solve a lot of problems for a big segment of the market at the moment. Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess the framework is on the way, it's coming. The open banking framework will soon come, and I am sure central bank will give the opportunity to all the banks to work and roll out the open banking infrastructure. Maybe it will be somewhere we will be rolling it out together. But what will happen once that comes? You will have the accounting information in a single screen. You will have the details of your payment transactions, initiations. You will be able to do it from the single screen, and you can choose from which bank you want. I guess staying competitive in terms of pricing, that will be the factor of resilience.
Yeah, definitely we are open for that, and as long as it gives the benefit to everyone, then why not? We should embrace any change and look at it positively with keeping in mind the control of the outliers, or if there are any set-offs or negativities on how can we mitigate it, control it, and make sure that it doesn't impact the customers negatively, because we are talking about customers' data, we are talking about numbers related to customers. It's the most sensitive and confidential element related to all of us as customers. As rightly said by my colleague Mujahid here, is that this is being under study by the regulators, and once it gets regulated well and monitored, it will be floated over to everyone, and then the coordination will happen accordingly.
So, Dimitri, in your experience, how do you think something like AI embedded finance will benefit Islamic banks in the country?
There is definitely great room for it, because when you embed finance, you're actually have the customer do banking without them feeling that they are visiting a bank. And we have seen it in practice. For example, when I booked my airline ticket, there was this option for me to insure, for lost baggage and stuff. That is essentially a form of embedded finance, and we see it all over the place. Now, what we're doing as Temenos, we're focusing on two areas that are also applicable to Islamic banking, because we allow you to generate products that are suitable for Islamic banking. The first area is APIs. We're trying to offer our solutions as APIs in such a way that it is very easy for our bank to embed them. And the other is SaaS. So by providing our platform in software as a service, we essentially make it much easier for a bank not only to run it, but also to be able to scale it, to don't worry so much about updates, about backups and stuff like that. So to help them focus more on the banking initiatives that they want to promote, and less on the mundane, let's call it, stuff. So we have seen it, and I believe with the emergence of Islamic banking around the world, for example, Libya or Pakistan, if I recall, will be Islamic banking in 3 years, full Islamic banking, a great market. So with the emergence of Islamic banking throughout the world, I see more and more opportunities in doing that. And that is where the know-how of digital transformation, that digital transformation is not about the front end, it's also about the back end, it's also about the middle office. Will, as said previously, the know-how will help also Islamic banks move much faster.
Thank you, Dimitri. Any questions from the audience?
Well, there was a lot of talk about an ecosystem, and I felt from Mujahid and Dimitri's that a lot of the burden of digital transformation is on the shoulders of fintechs more than banks. I mean, we're expecting a lot from fintechs to meet us more than halfway, even if the pain points and the problems in the market are apparent. So something like BNPL is actually leaning more towards Islamic finance than conventional. Yet we feel like the Islamic banks in Oman are still waiting for fintechs to kind of offer a solution, have a market, and then come to a bank with a viable solution so that the bank can later implement it. So, and then now Temenos is taking forward that step by even bringing the market of fintechs to banks. So why is this burden so heavy on the fintechs, given that they're the small guys at the end of the day?
May I
Yeah,
have,
please.
yeah. I don't know if it went out wrong, but I'm not saying that the burden lies on the fintechs. The main responsibility lies with the bank. The fintech is there to give them solutions to specific problems. And that's why I said, no, the banks need also to become more innovative. And when I mentioned, the example about the second use case of buy now, pay later. So the banks are the ones that have the main interest in keeping their customers happy and becoming more efficient. So they are the ones that will help fintechs, but they are the ones also that will help foster a fintech ecosystem, but will help also drive that innovation by providing, let's say, a ground on which a fintech can grow upon.
No, I just wanted to clarify it further. What I was just talking, when I was talking about the fintech companies, we feel that it's not that we are throwing the entire burden on the fintech companies, but what we feel, the fintech companies are giving more focus and attention to conventional banks. Whereas when it comes to mainly Islamic banks, we see very rare of them. They are really deep diving with the bank. So, I mean, take it positively, and if you can work with us, and deep dive with us more than the conventional banks, I'm sure there is a market for you.
We are running out of time, so we have one more question. I think this gentleman raised his hand. Yes.
Yeah, just my question is about your views on the effect of digitalization on the employment. Will be many jobs, many professionals will be disappear. And also the expected number of staff on the banks and branches would be to be reduced. So what is your view on the effect on these challenges? Thank you.
Can I start there, please?
I think, there are technologies. There's something that is emerging, a term called the citizen developer. So we're seeing technologies that are helping automation, like RPA, for example, and so on. So those RPAs, when something is automated through RPA, you might lose actually, few of the actual human jobs. But what you can do is that those human jobs which are lost because of RPA, they should be trained on the RPA itself so that the next processes will be developed by them. If somebody is working, let's say, in the operation area of a bank, they have a lot of expertise in that domain. So their expertise is in the domain, not necessarily in just going to a system and doing processing. Their knowledge, their expertise is in the domain. Can that expertise be reused for them to develop the next RPA automation process by themselves without the need of IT, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of low-code, no-code tools that can also be developed by let's say, an HR department. They have the expertise, they have the knowledge needed to develop that low-code, no-code tool to help serve a particular problem and solve a particular problem for the HR department, for the finance department, and so on. So I think the emergence of the citizen developers is gonna increase in the future, and a lot of these jobs that get automated, those people might be converted into citizen developers benefiting from their expertise and knowledge in that particular area.
If you allow me, Ramki, here. And on top of training people, you can redirect even the human resources or the human capital that you have to some other protective jobs. And we have a very good example in the bank, in Bank Muscat about this, where we have developed a conversational chatbot to take care of the fraud monitoring transactions. And in that department is like 9 to 10 people. So now that bot is taking completely, gradually, the job of those people, but then training them on something else, more productive, where it can help the organization to create value out of it, is the essence of it.
Can I? Okay. Technology has never replaced human beings. Technology is always there to be as an enabler and to make you do your job much more efficiently. If you go back 100 years back, in the banking sector, let's not go somewhere else, where there was no technology. Everything was handled manually. But when technology came, did we replace the tellers? Did we replace the CREs, CRMs, branch managers? They all are there. But technology is assisting you and so that you can do your job efficiently and effectively. Thank you.
I think we're running short of time, and this gentlemen are available for any question that you want to pose to them. So as we reach to the end of this panel, we can fairly assume that this is a 12-year young bank sector in Oman at the cusp of exponential growth. So with that, we end this panel, and a huge round of applause to the gentleman on the